If you're stuck trying to pick a niche, this video is probably the reason that you haven't started. And no, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're unmotivated, and it's not because you don't want it bad enough. You're stuck because you're being asked to make a decision that you're not ready to make yet. Most people think that they haven't started YouTube yet because they haven't decided what to make videos about. That's not true. They haven't started because they think they have to get it right the first time. And that pressure freezes people. You've heard it everywhere. Pick a niche, dial it in, and then focus. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That advice is not wrong. It's just out of order. That advice was created for people who already have momentum, not for beginners. When a beginner hears pick a niche, what they actually hear is choose wrong and you'll waste time. That's not motivating. That's paralyzing. Let me show you what happens when you pick a niche too early. You overthink every video, you hesitate to post, and you scrap ideas because they might not fit. You start asking questions like, will this confuse the algorithm? Will this hurt my channel? Or is this on brand? And before long, you stop creating altogether. Not because you ran out of ideas, but because every idea seems risky. This is the most important distinction that you'll hear in this video. A niche is an identity, but a lane is a direction. A niche says, this is what I am. A lane says, this is where I'm starting. Beginners don't need an identity yet. They need movement. Beginners don't need an identity yet. They need movement. That movement will teach you what planning never can. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. You don't discover what you enjoy talking about by brainstorming. You do it by talking. You don't learn what you're good at by waiting for confidence. You learn it by showing up unpolished and paying attention. That's why lanes matter. Lanes create momentum without locking you in. There are 3 different starting lanes that you can choose from. This is where most people finally relax, because you realize you're not as lost as you thought you were. Lane 1 is simple: learning out loud. You share what you're trying to figure out as you're figuring it out. Not as an expert, but as someone that's one step ahead of yesterday. People think that this lane requires confidence, but it only requires honesty. You need to be honest with your viewers and yourself about where you are as a creator. And you don't need perfect answers. You need real questions. Lane 2 is documenting progress. It's about showing the process, not the result. People don't connect to finished products. They connect to progress. Progress creates a narrative, and narrative creates retention. And that retention builds channels. Lane 3 scares people the most. Teaching what you just learned. This is scary because they think that teaching means mastery, but it doesn't. Teaching means clarity. You teach the one thing that you just figured out for yourself, and that's it. Teaching locks learning in place, and it builds confidence faster than anything else. Here's the rule though, and it's a lot simpler than what you want it to be. Pick the lane that's easiest for you to explain without notes. Not the smartest and not the most impressive, but the easiest. Easy is a signal, not a weakness. But what if I pick wrong? This is the fear that everyone has. So let's just kill it. You can't pick wrong because you're not picking forever. You're just borrowing a lane. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to outgrow it. That's not failure, that's progress. Early on, YouTube isn't judging your ideas. It's watching your patterns. Patterns tell YouTube who your target audience is, what bucket you belong in, and whether to keep testing you or not. Lanes create patterns. Niches come later. Let me wrap this up by saying, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to start. In the next video, I'll show you exactly how to make your first 3 videos inside of one lane. Even if they're bad, especially if they're bad.